Hey, my name is Paul Siegel, and I'm a digital artist and illustrator. I've been working in the field for over 2 decades. I started using Photoshop since 1998 and did digital art back before that in DOS using some of Autodesk's old software. And through the advent of artificial intelligence, something I like to refer to as AL, the question has been coming up in my mind. Can I compete? Can my skills still hold up and be relevant in this day and age of AL? And my hypothesis is that yes, that I can compete with AI. In fact, I'm going to put that hypothesis to the test. And I'm going to give Al a task, and then I'm going to do the same task, but I'm going to do it better, and I'm going to do it faster. However, there is a caveat, and that is that I get to play by the same rules that Al gets to play by. What I want to do is I want to generate some photoreal faces, and I keep recently, a memory has been coming back to me that music video from decades ago by Michael Jackson called Black or White. Those of you old enough may remember it was a pretty cutting edge at the time, and to this day I think the graphics still hold up pretty well, showing faces sort of morphing into each other. It was beautiful. And so I want to just have a generator. I want to be able to generate faces, various different faces, very quickly. Better than what Al can do, and I would say I can do it faster as well, using old school digital art techniques. So I'm going to give Al access to everything it does through artificial intelligence is what they call it. And I'm going to use my skills, the skills that I've developed over the course of the last 2 decades, to compete with it. And we'll see who wins. Okay, so I'm going to ask Al to render a face of a woman facing the camera against a white background. Photograph. Provide a photograph of a woman's face facing the camera against a white background. Let's see how it does. And I've got a little stopwatch here so we can be very academic about this. Okay, pretty good, but it's not quite doing what I wanted it to. Uncropped. Sometimes you really have to work with Al to get what you're looking for. Okay, this one on the left is looking more along the lines of what I'd like. It's still a little bit too far out, but I think it's good enough for us to assess the quality. Okay, so that was around 40 seconds to get the first result that I wanted. Now there are a number of other things that I might want to customize, and it may take me some time to really get to the kind of face that I want. Like for example, I might want the hair tied back so that I can easily morph between these faces. And so that already is kind of a point against Al, in my opinion, that you're always kind of rolling the dice with Al. You don't really have a lot of control over it. And as a professional artist, I know that clients usually have very, very specific target and a very, very specific thing they want to achieve. And you, as the one who's providing the service, need to be good enough to hit the mark, get exactly what they want. But still, 40 seconds was not bad. If I look at let me assess the quality of this. The image is 700 pixels wide, and so even though it's a nice image, it's very grainy and it's very pixelated. So this would not be useful at all for HD video, and or for print for that matter. And so that is an area that's going to be very easy for me to beat. But can I do it in 40 seconds? That's the question. Now, I believe I can. But again, the big caveat here is I get to play by the same rules. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, there's a whole front end to this. So I'm going to build myself a front end. So I'm not going to time that portion because that was already done by this company with millions, if not billions of dollars. And it also is leveraging a massive data set. And so I'm going to take some time to gather a whole data set. And it is also done what they call training, which is essentially taking the time to synthesize the data and get the data to be associated with itself in a manner that is cohesive. I've actually built some of my own neural networks. At this point, I've built dozens from scratch. And if you want to learn more about that venture, you can look at some of the other videos on this channel. So I know a little bit about how neural networks work and all the work and energy that went into generating that. So I'm going to get to do that myself, but I'm not going to use a neural network. I'm going to use old school. Again, this is AI Al versus old school digital artist here. I'm going to use these neurons. Okay, I'm going to use these neurons. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll just speed through that so that I don't have to bore you with that whole process. And then we'll see, once I've done all the work that Al has done here, if I can produce multiple faces at a better quality and faster. Oh, look at that gorgeous data. I'm going to start gathering all of this stuff. Again, I'm using old school digital art methods here. And what I'm doing right now is an analogy to the data gathering portion of neural network training. So this is not the neural network training itself. This is the data acquisition. Some of these items are still too low res, so I'll probably end up discarding most of the things that I find. And so I can really tailor my efforts here to just get the data that is most in line with the art direction for the project. By the way, I'm aware that what I'm doing is illegal because, as you can see, everything's watermarked. All of these pieces are copyrighted data. But again, the exercise here is, can I beat Al at his own game? If I play by the same rules, can I beat him? And I think I can. Sit tight. Okay, so I think I'm ready. I've gathered my data, and I've done the equivalent of training. I've synthesized the data and associated the data with itself in a manner that is meaningful. So in Photoshop, what that would look like is having all of my source material and having it isolated in a manner that allows me to blend it in with different works without them interfering with each other. So, and they've also been sort of arranged in a way where they align with each other. So my system essentially has a category called I, and everything that is in the category called I is cohesive with itself. And even I could actually stop here and just build a system with layer comps, right? And generate all kinds of novel combinations of faces that don't really exist out in the web. And that might even be sufficient. The problem with this is that it doesn't quite give the user the same experience that Al gives them, where they have a whole front-end apparatus that they can just type in and get something generated. So I'm going to take some time to build the front end for all of this data that I've acquired and synthesized. Okay, so I think I'm there. I've got myself a little tool that is going to gather all of this material and allow the user to create their own combinations. In fact, one of the downsides so far of what I've done up to this point is that each item is discrete. And so, even though I'm combining noses and mouths with different eyes and eyebrows, you can go zoom in on that eyebrow and probably find exactly a match for it somewhere online. And Al is really good at hiding the source material by blending things rather than being so discrete about it, doing it in a manner that is broken up at even smaller granular level using stable diffusion technology. So we're dealing with things that are occurring at a diffused pixelated level. And whereas I've been working discretely, purely just to get a point across that if I play by the same rules, even though my technology is much simpler and old school, I can do what Al is doing for my project faster and at a better quality. So now that I have a tool here, I've got a front end, and we'll see how well it does. Make sure I've got my timer here. Reset it. We'll launch the tool. I've called it my MJ Blender as a tribute to Michael Jackson. And just like that, I didn't even have a chance to hit the timer, but let me go ahead, and I've got a generate button here. So I'm gonna hit play, generate. Five seconds. Just like that, I was able to generate a novel face in 5 seconds that is also much higher resolution. So I can zoom in on this and you can see the quality of the work, because I was relying on really great data set and using old school methods. Now, of course, this would be could produce even better results if I worked with a photographer who could provide really, really high res data, and it would also be legal to do so, because what I've done right now is completely illegal. As digital artists, we don't get to play by the same rules that Al gets to play by, which I personally think is a bit of a double standard there, if you ask me. However, if the rules are as they are now for Al, it seems to me that moving forward, digital artists should be able to play by Al's rules and could easily become competitive. Not only generate work faster, but even at a higher quality bar. This tool, by the way, allows me to not work discretely. So not only am I crossfading between these different items, but they're also morphing between themselves. And so at any one point, I'm very unlikely to get anything that at a pixel level is even a match with something that is out there. What we refer to this as in the biz is a derivative work, which frankly, in my opinion, is what Al is doing when it does art. It's creating derivative works of copyrighted pieces, and should be illegal unless done for research purposes, or in this case, for educational purposes. That is why we have something called fair use. If we're ever doing something for research or for educational purposes, the fair use clause is there to allow us to do such things. But when Al goes out and uses other people's work and profits off of it, it is illegal as far as I understand. But as you can see, if we play by Al's rules, we digital artists could produce better and faster work. So, in fact, check this out. I went ahead and added a batch export button to my app so that I can just have it randomly pick combinations and generate them for me. That way I don't have to be hitting the generate button. I can just hit export, a batch export. And in a matter of seconds, it's generating multiple variations of faces using my generator. Now, I should mention that I did not spend a whole lot of time on this. I only sampled perhaps a total of 6 or 7 different faces. If I were going to be generating a professional version of this for a client, number one, I'd be working with an actual photographer and with models, and we'd be dealing with much higher end quality, and we'd generate perhaps a few dozen at least different sources, whereas here I just worked with 6 or 7, and so I'm getting a lot of repetition and not a lot of variation. I'd probably get different ethnicities and work in a skin customization component to it as well. And so this is very rough. I just really wanted to put it together quickly just to give you a sense for how fast it actually is for a digital artist to work with old school tools and be able to generate content faster and better than what Al can do. And here you can see my batch render is going. It's just going to generate 100 of these, and it's only going to take it a few minutes. So I think this settles it once and for all. If digital artists can play by the same rules that Al can play by, we can definitely produce the same, if not better, quality work and produce more of it and make it higher quality, fully in HD. So we'll see how the law weighs in on everything that's been going on with Al. But if things keep going the way they are, it seems to me there's an argument to be made that artists should be able to use their own neurons to work in the same way that Al is working. And there you have it. 100 variations from 6:03 p.m. to 6:05 p.m. In a matter of a couple minutes. I was able to generate 100 variations, and granted, some of them are not worth keeping. I'd probably discard about half of them, but then I could just run the batch export again and see what else I get. However, if I were doing this professionally, I would do it the right way, working with a photographer, working with real models, or licensing actual photography that can be used in this way legally. And I would be more careful about how I composite the pieces. This was very rushed. I did it over the course of an afternoon. So I just really wanted to get this point across, and let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Take care.